If anybody knew about the white privilege that killed her, it was Corrina Meal. Corrina is an artist. I use this term loosely. She's one of this group of artists, activists, whatever, that kind of travel around the country from campus to campus, grant to grant, project to project, making all these installations that are supposed to teach us a lesson, but nobody ever knows the lesson from looking at the picture, so the artist has to come out and explain it to us. Yes, Corrina was one of those people, and one of her favorite topics, not just in her art, but on her Facebook page and other places, was black victimization and white racism. A couple days ago, Corrina was found dead in a Washington, D.C. apartment that the newspapers tell us was close to a very exclusive part of town.
Corrina Meal. She had a knack for making ugly things pretty. In Philadelphia, she turned broken and abandoned bikes into objects art. In Cincinnati, she turned broken parking meters into flower pots. Corrina Meal, here to work on an art project at the Corcoran. She was last seen alive there Sunday night. Corrina Meal found dead last night at this home near 14th and 8th Streets Northeast. She'd been tied up and stabbed to death. Missing from the scene, her 2004 blue Toyota Prius. It has Kentucky tag 722RMY. Today by phone, I talked to Corrina Meal's stepmother.
They can have her car. Why couldn't they just take her car?
I don't know, ma'am.
Kill her.
I don't know. Corrina Meal worked for the nationally renowned artist Mel Chin. She was here assisting him on a project at the Corcoran. Her parents say Chin keeps an apartment at this house for people who come to help. Police pressing all day long to find this missing car, to find the victim's car. They feel if they find the car, they can find the killer.
She was stabbed, tortured, ultimately killed. They caught the guy. They caught a guy the other day, I think it was in Tennessee, with her car, with her debit card. Pictures of him using the debit card when he was caught. He said he didn't do nothing. If Corrina had been still around, she might have agreed with him. Let's give a listen to some of the writings Corrina left on her Facebook in the days before her death. This year has been exciting and terrifying. So many tragedies inflicted on the full spectrum of non-white males in my country. I have spent many days trying to understand this moment in our history. I feel so proud of what we have all accomplished, sobbing with the country at the death of the young, beautiful people in Orlando, crying to my father after watching Philando Castile pass in real time in front of the whole world. Philando Castile, of course, was the guy up in Minneapolis. Pretty sure it was Minneapolis, where he was in a car. The cops asked him to, put his hands where they could see him. He and his girlfriend matched the description of a couple of criminals they were looking for. The cop thought Philando was going for his gun, and he killed him while his girlfriend streamed it live on Facebook. Kind of a famous case. Anyway, let's get back to Corrina. His strong and beautiful girlfriend having the strength to show the story to an already grieving country. And through it all, watching the women in my life spend the year in worried apprehension. Corrina was trying to be excited for the future, all the while listening as others rallied around chants of hate and fear toward people of color, people of other religions, people of the lesser sex, people who don't check one gender box. Corrina, of course, was talking about Donald Trump. He was, of course, a racist. She liked to talk about Ta-Nehisi Coates, who said the only reason Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in an election was because he was white and rich. And then she liked to talk about the Women's March and with the underneath the sign of the black fist, because that symbolizes how the white allies should be supporting black people in their struggle from liberation from this relentless white racism we inflict upon them every moment of every day. And, she talked a little about schools in Detroit. Of course, we know what's wrong with them, too much white racism. And she was even down with the cause when the congressman from Brooklyn took a big picture of Biggie Small to the House of Congress, to the floor of Congress, floor of the House of Representatives, and eulogized him on the 10th, 20th, 100th anniversary of his death, whatever it was. So Karina was totally blind to the black on white crime, black violence surrounding her in Washington, surrounding lots and lots of people all over the country. And if she were here right now, she would probably dismiss what I'm about to show you, because I'm going to show you some really nasty business that happened at the same time, a day or two before and after the death of Karina Meal in Washington, D.C. Black on white violence, just as bad as it gets. Why don't we start off with somebody who could have been a contemporary of Karina Meal, a white school teacher down in Jacksonville, Florida. Then we'll move on to a girl from just a 19-year-old girl in Tulsa. Then we'll move on to a guy in Milwaukee. Then more and more and more on the last couple days.
New information about a Jacksonville mom and local music teacher murdered at her home last week, 2 decades after she survived another brutal attack at the same home. This was Deborah Lyles in court in 1993.
I love life, but I've had an event happen to me that should only have happened in the movies.
The discovery we found in our News 4 Jax archives that may stun you as it did us when we found it.
On the inside of my mouth.
It is a plot line that frankly is unbelievable and tragically a reality for 5 grown children and their father.
Deborah Lyles, a beloved music teacher, mother, grandmother, murdered at her own Panama Park home. This is the crazy part. It's at the same home where she was brutally attacked while pregnant 23 years ago. Now, police are still hunting for her killer. At 5, Channel 4's Elizabeth Campbell spoke with Lyles' husband, who's the one who found his wife dead last Thursday.
We've had 41 fantastic years together, and I can't imagine what went through the mind of the person who felt it necessary to end her life. But he needs to know that the life he ended was not a valueless life. There was a lot of people affected by this.
Now, I-Team investigator Lindsay Gardner is joining us. She uncovered video of Deborah Lyles speaking in a courtroom about the gift of life after she survived that first horrible ordeal. Lindsay, it is hard to grasp that one woman could be a victim of criminal violence twice.
Truly, Tom. And when we heard her in her own words today, many of us were left speechless. She was powerful as she was sitting in that courtroom confronting her attacker in 1993. It was testimony that really left us in awe of her strength then and now. Today, her words are ringing all the more heartbreaking with a second attack that Debbie Lyles did not survive.
Once he put his hand around the back of my neck, that I faced death. I laid there on the couch and I thought, I love being the mother of 4 children. I don't want it to end.
Debbie Lyles took to the witness stand in 1993 to stare down the man who brutally beat her in her Jacksonville home while she was pregnant. This same house where she was later murdered, making her testimony then all the more unsettling today.
I have hospital bills. I have scar tissue on the inside of my mouth that may be there. That's minimal. The impact is it has changed my perspective of life. I love life, but I've had an event happen to me that should only have happened in the movies.
Her attacker, Curtis Head, was a career felon with 33 arrests before he went to Lyles' home looking for yard work. When she turned him down, he broke in her back door, tied her up, beat her, and robbed her. Head had been out of prison just 47 days when he committed that home invasion. He's now spending life in prison. News 4 Jax followed Lyles' story of survival as she and her husband fought to then strengthen the laws. Our cameras were there as the family celebrated their first Thanksgiving after the attack. Lyles was 4 to 5 months pregnant at the time.
With a lot of things in life, you have to come either near losing or losing it to appreciate it. And life was one thing that I almost lost.
Fast forward to March 23, 2017. Lyles did lose her life in the very same kitchen. Police say the murder weapon left nearby. The question now is, killed by who?
2 days after the murder on Saturday, police found Lyles' abandoned car on Nodder Avenue off of Gulf Air Boulevard. They are hoping that DNA or clues inside can help them to catch the person who killed 62-year-old Debbie Lyles.
But we begin here at 6 o'clock with the murder of an innocent 19-year-old woman. Tulsa police say Kelsey Tennant went home on her lunch break yesterday and found a burglar inside her apartment.
They say that burglar, Greg Epperson, beat and strangled her. News on 6 crime reporter Lori Fulbright tells us Epperson has been a suspect in 2 other murders. Lori's on that story tonight.
People describe Kelsey Tennant as a young woman who loved life, who was sweet and kind-hearted, and police say she fought hard against her attacker, but he was simply too much. Now her family is left devastated and shocked that her life has been cut so short in a senseless act of such brutality.
Kelsey went to Broken Arrow High School. She had a job and a boyfriend. Her family says she was a joy to be around.
She's got the biggest smile and the puppy dog brown eyes. She can just steal your heart. And she's got a joyous and contagious giggle.
Police say not only did Greg Epperson beat and strangle Kelsey, but also attacked and tried to shoot Kelsey's boyfriend when he came home. Homicide detectives know Epperson very well. They arrested him for the 2008 murder of Tulsa car dealer Ray Johnson.
Epperson, what we believe, shot and killed Johnson, put him in the trunk of a car, and then dumped his body in a creek.
Johnson's body has never been found, and the DA dropped the charges for a lack of evidence. Then police suspected Epperson in the death of John Baker, a man who went missing, whose body was found a couple of months later by Lake Keystone.
The last person to talk to Mr. Baker is Epperson. Epperson was living in a rent house from Baker's.
But with no physical evidence to tie Epperson to the crime, no arrest, no charges. And now, Kelsey Tennant is dead in a random, violent encounter.
Police admit there are serial killers walking around amongst us, and they know who they are. They just don't have the evidence to get them yet. As for Kelsey's family, all that matters is they will never see her smile or hear her laugh ever again.
This is still a personal nightmare for Ziggy's family.
It is hard for so many to comprehend after 33 years on the job. Wednesday, City Inspector Greg Ziskevich was killed on assignment. Milwaukee police say his death likely the case of a botched carjacking by a group of suspects in the middle of a crime spree.
We are here today to announce that 5 suspects have been taken into custody.
Police say 2 hours before his death at 35th and Townsend, 5 suspects with a shotgun and a stolen Toyota hit their first victim, the owner of a Kia. 2 hours later, near 23rd and Cherry, Donald Jones went for a walk.
That don't look right. We stopped.
Greg Ziskevich was found in his car, shot in the head. He was on the block to perform a home inspection. Mayor Barrett would soon be on the scene and not optimistic.
I stood there and I wondered, how in God's name are we going to catch the person or persons who committed this crime?
We quickly surmised, based on the physical evidence, that he had been the victim of a shotgun, that only a couple of hours before, a shotgun had been used in a carjacking.
Police put out an APB.
All of our units were looking for those 2 cars while we were still processing the scene.
5:43, officers spot the Toyota with 3 suspects inside. 6:06, the stolen Kia Soul is found with the other 3 males. Both are chased.
Both pursuits ended in crashes. Both crashes ended up in foot pursuits.
A case now heading to prosecutors as a city and family prepare for a funeral.
Cumberland County deputies are interviewing a person of interest in the murder of a Spring Lake woman. Jennifer Fox's body was found outside her mobile home yesterday morning. The mother of 2 had been shot, and now police want to hear from her boyfriend, Jeffrey McKinnon. Deputies say until a few hours ago, they hadn't been able to track him down, even though he lives at the same home. No charges have been filed.
Let me take you to some video of one of the young men they have in custody. If you remember, last night, officers said they were looking for 6 people in connection to the shooting of those 2 officers. They have 2 people in custody right now. One of them we know is this young man they put in the back of a police car and took away. Another young man as well.
I want that kitty.
This is the Sina Sharifi that family and friends remember, loving and kind.
Only thing left right now are memories.
But this is what they can't stop thinking about right now, the way he died. At just 24 years old, he was shot and killed in this parking lot.
Don't think that it never happened to you.
His uncle and cousin spoke to me just hours after learning the sad news. Police say there was a fight in the parking lot involving Sharifi and Tory Ricketts.
At that point, that's when Ricketts pulled a handgun from his waistline and fired 2 shots.
2 officers working off duty at the club ran up and arrested Ricketts. Sharifi's loved ones say he would have never started the fight. He was just trying to stop it. In fact, he was aspiring to help people. In a few months, he was going to graduate from FSCJ and become a behavioral counselor.
Very kind young man, and he was very helpful to everyone.
But now that bright future is gone.
He's always been the one that's always been like a upstanding citizen in any situation he's been faced with. This is unforeseen.
And I just came out of my house about 5 minutes ago, right before it happened. So I was in an alley and I heard a gunshot.
A strange sequence of events leaves a neighborhood in shock, and bullet casings all over the ground on Kenton Street.
You know, come on now, it's time to be adults and let these guys know enough is enough.
Police say a 4-year-old boy was hit by a car when he wandered into the street into the path of that vehicle. Police say an altercation then took place when 3 people ran up to the car and began assaulting the driver and passenger. Police say they may have even dragged them from the car. One of the people who ran to the car who was involved in the assault pulled out a gun and shot one of the people in the car. That person died on the way to the hospital.
Yeah, we're out here again. You know, something awful has happened, but like as usual, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep on telling them we need to stop the shooting, stop the killing, stop the violence.
So here we have 2 different versions of reality. On one hand, we have Karina Meal's version. You have a semi-naked chick with some kind of makeup on her standing in front of a pile of clothes, which has some really complex meaning, which is supposed to uplift us, enlighten us, and make the world a better place, and so we can all sing together in perfect harmony. That is a fairy tale. And people like Karina Meal think they're the solution, but they're really the problem. They're denial, deceit, and delusion about the level of black on white crime, black on white hostility, black on white violence. Their denial, deceit, and delusion is making this a much more dangerous country than it should be. That's what we document here every day. Now, I made another video about this, and there's another one, but if you're watching this on a different channel than my old other YouTube channel. It's kind of complicated. We don't need to go into it now, but YouTube has sent me a notice saying, because of about 8 million complaints lodged against my channel, I have 7 days to clear up the complaints. So at least we have a little bit of running time to change channels, to change platforms. So I'm going to go to YouTube for a while, another YouTube channel for a while, the one you're watching this on now. But I'm also going to I'm also going to go to ColinFlaherty.com and start making that a place where we can go instead of playing hide and seek with YouTube all this time. I mean, there's too much stuff going on. There's too much at stake. So we're, this page, listen, I don't like making this page a place of drama. I just want to make a place of where we can learn the truth about black violence and the people who are in denial, deceit, and delusion about it. And the consequences of that. Consequences felt like people like Karina Meal. But it's no secret this page is under relentless attack on YouTube So we're just going to have to do a little bit more to insulate ourselves from that attack. Where nothing's going to change here. We're going to keep making videos. We're going to keep posting them in a couple different places. But ultimately, we'll end up at ColinFlaherty.com. Even if that does make the black kids angry.